Hello, welcome to this C# support video. This is the second in a series on cybersecurity. It builds on cybersecurity 1, which introduced the kind of layout of a login attempt log. And this is quite an involved challenge, so apologies in advance. There's quite a lot to get our heads around here. So the idea is we want to have a method which will process a log, and a log is going to be a multi-line string with lots of details on, and we need to process that. First of all, we need to split it up into individual lines, so we process them one at a time. And then when we process individual lines, we need to extract things like the date, the username, whether or not the login is successful or not, and the IP address. Where do we store all of those? Well, we need to generate a class called login attempt, which is similar to the class that we used in cybersecurity 1, but we've got an additional constructor. So what does that mean? Well, we first of all need to have a class called login attempt, and we can make these public attributes, the variables that belongs to each instance of a class. So we've got a string called username and a string called IP to store the IP address. We have a Boolean value, so true or false, for whether or not the login attempt is successful. And we have a date time, which stores details of the day of the year and the time of the day, called date. All right, let's run it and see what happens. We'll have some syntax errors because this doesn't return a value. What should it return? Well, it should return a list of login attempts. At least we've made a login attempt class now, so we can make a list of login attempt, and we'll call it attempts. We need to create that new list to call the constructor to allocate all of the memory to store all of these login attempts, and then we can return that value. Obviously, it's going to be empty yet. We haven't actually processed them. But we have our next problem here because the login attempt class doesn't have a constructor that takes one argument. That's this thing here. If you just create a class by itself, it will automatically create a constructor. Remember, a constructor is a special method that will create a new instance of that class. So public login attempt. This is a constructor like the default constructor. It has no parameters and it does nothing. We want to create our own constructor which has a parameter which is a single line from the log. So string log line, and we do want it to do something. We want it to be able to set all of these. This will at least hopefully get rid of the syntax error, but when we try and run it, it doesn't extract the right information. So here it's generating a test with 14 login attempts, and our implementation has failed because it thinks that the user is empty instead of an actual admin, because we haven't done this bit yet. So how do we do this? Well, if we want to extract lots of text from a big long piece of text, a big string, we're going to use regular expressions. So regex.match. We have, let's see, we should probably use regex 101 to construct our regular expression here. That's what we want to search for, and the regular expression is just the different characters that we want to try and find. So first of all, we want a numerical digit, and there might be more than one numerical digit. It's probably going to be 2, but the plus just means 1 or more. Then there's going to be a forward slash. Now a forward slash is a special character in a regular expression, so I'm going to escape it. So we've now matched that here and here. Well, I'd like that twice because we've got the day of the month and the month itself. Then we want more than one digit, which we've got here. Then there's a space, and then we've got time. So what's time? Time is a numerical digit, more than one of them. Let's copy that. And then a colon, and then more than one numerical digit, and then a colon, and then more than one numerical digit. So we've matched the whole of the date time here. If we want to extract that from a regular expression, we're just going to wrap it up in brackets so that we can now find that here. Oh dear, what on earth have I done? I didn't need all of these brackets, sorry. That's irritating. I only want to extract the whole of the date rather than all of these numbers separately. That was silly. That's a lot better. So now I'm just matching that whole string. I can see the whole of the line here, and I can see just the date time. Why is that useful? Well, I can carry on writing my regular expression to process the log, and I can see user, and then I want to match the username. Well, it says in here that the username, where does it say it? Usernames can contain letters or numbers, and we assume that all of the data in the log file is valid, so it all follows the same pattern. So what do we mean by a username? Well, we'll wrap it up in brackets so we can extract it as a group, and it could be a numerical digit. In fact, let's do it differently. Let's say it could be anything from A to Z, capital letters, A to Z, lowercase, or 0 to 0. So we've got that first character. We just need to repeat that one or more times to get the username. And we can extract these as different groups. The power of regular expressions. Then we've got a message which is either successfully logged in, or it could be something else. So let's get another one in here into our test data so we can see if it works for something else. So yeah, this hasn't matched because it says failed to log in. Well, if I put all of this in brackets and put a pipe, which means or, I can say failed to log in. And now it's matched both, and we can see, does it match failed to log in, or has it matched successfully logged in? We can extract that in our C# code later. Space and from, and now we've got an IP address, which we want to extract all in one. What is an IP address? Well, it's a number, one or more digit, and then a full stop, which is a special character in a regular expression, which matches any character, so I need to escape that. And then that needs to happen 4 times, so it might be something like 127.0.0.1 with no full stop at the end. So we've just extracted all of the information we need from that log file. Really, really helpful to get your heads around regular expressions if you're doing validation or processing text files like this. Why is that helpful? Well, because then we can search for that data from this bit of text. Now I can never remember which way around it is. regex match C#. Which way round are the parameters? Let's see, match string string, which is which. So the input comes first, and the regular expression pattern that we're searching for comes next. So I've got it the wrong way around. The thing we're searching through comes first. So it's going to be the first argument I pass into regex.match. It's log line, which is received as a parameter here, and then the actual regular expression. All right, let's store this. Match n. If it's successful, then we can use it. We can say m dot what? Here we have different groups. The 0th group is the whole match, the whole of the line, but the first group is the first thing in brackets. So from here to here, or from here to here, that's the date. So m.groups1.value, that's going to be a string specifying the date. So I can do date equals, because that's an attribute of the class. We're currently in a class here, so I can just put the name of the attribute to set it. Okay, and we should be able to do the same. What do we get next? The username. Username is m.groups2.value. Then we get the login status. Now this is going to be a string which is either going to be successfully logged in or failed to log in. So I'll do it kind of the opposite way around to what we did in the first challenge. Let's say, in fact, let's go successful is going to be true or false. So let's extract the group value from the regular expression, and we'll test and see if that is successfully logged in. So this is a Boolean expression. It evaluates to either true or false, and if it's true, that means that they've successfully logged in, so the true value is saved into the successful attribute up here. Magic. Right, what do we need next? Excuse me, just the IP address. The eagle-eyed amongst you will have spotted my syntax error. In here it should be groups. So we're getting there. I think it should process the right information, but I don't think we're going to do this correctly just yet. So we can't say a date is equal to a string, but what we can do is say datetime.pass, pass in a value in a string, and then datetime.pass will convert it into a datetime object for us. All right, get in there. Expected return value to contain 1 login attempt, not 0. Well, that's because our list is still empty. We're never actually adding anything to it. So we get a log file with loads of stuff in. We need to split that now so that we get each line separately. So how do we do that? Login attempts.split. Every time we get a new line, we want to deal with that new line separately. So that means instead of just a string, we're going to have an array of strings. I can never remember where the square brackets goes before the name of it or not. We'll see. Then we can iterate through each line. For each string line in lines, we can create a new, where's it gone? Come on, scroll up. A new login attempt from that individual line of the log. Login attempt A equals new login attempt. This is where we call our special constructor that we spent so much time creating. So I want to make a new login attempt by passing in a single line of the log file, which is what I've got just here. Pass that in. Again, I think we won't have any syntax errors, hopefully, but it's not going to work yet because it doesn't actually add this login attempt to the list. So attempts, which is our list, dot add a, which is our instance of the login class, so that we can add all of the login details to the list and then return the list afterwards. Fingers crossed, will it work? I very much hope so. Hooray! So a lot going on here. I want you to be skilled at decomposing a problem, recognizing what you need to do, putting all the pieces together, thinking what data structures do I need? What algorithms do I need? What tools do I need, like regular expressions? And then putting it all together with the right syntax to solve the problem. I think that's dead exciting.